Hi, I'm Mirapod, and in this video I'll explain how to play Fizz against ranged matchups. I classify ranged champions as weak or strong ranged. A weak ranged champion satisfies at least one of the three following criteria before level 3. Either they heavily rely on skill shots that can be dodged with Fizz's air Q, have bad wave clear, or have low DPS and burst. Strong ranged champions are all those who do not fall under this category. Here's how I classify them. Against a weak ranged champion, our approach is very similar to the melee matchup in my solo dive guide. I will give you 3 tips that will help you win your lane. Tip number 1. High value E at level 1. We want to use E at level 1 to last hit the 3 melee minions and hit the 3 ranged minions as well. This will help us get level 2 first. However, using E towards the enemy will scare them away. If we want to hit the enemy champion as well, we can stand at the center of the wave and use E on the spot, and most people will move forward trying to poke us after landing. Tip number 2. Use E to trade as we are about to get level 2. Most mid laners are aware of Fizz's level of threat at level 2, so if they see you get level 2 first, they will back up and keep their distance from you. In order to get a successful trade, we need to catch them by surprise. How do we do this? Well, as we all know, we can get level 2 by killing the first wave of minion, plus a minion from the second wave. As the minion from the second wave is about to die, we can use E to last hit that minion and hit the enemy at the same time. This E allows us to level up and slow the enemy champion. We can then proceed to use AW to proc electrocutes. Tip number 3. Get level 2 from first wave. A more advanced trick consists of taking red trinket at level 1 to kill a ward placed by the enemy jungle. The EXP from the ward allows us to get level 2 from the first wave, which is even more unexpected. Moreover, taking zombie ward will grant you 2 additional AP, which seems insignificant but can make the difference between the kill and the enemy surviving with 5 HP. Combined with tip number 2, this will guarantee we get a successful trade on the enemy. There are 3 spots where junglers tend to place wards at level 1, at the pixel bush, at Ally's topside buff, and at raptors. After the level 2 trade, we should have complete control over the lane. We can then proceed to slow push the wave and crash it at 3 minute 10. At that point, we have a few options. If the enemy is low enough, we can dive them under the turrets. If the enemy jungle wants to contest Scuttle, we can path towards the river for a 2v1 skirmish. A safer option would be to recall to gain tempo over the enemy mid laner. Now against a strong range champion, we need to use a different strategy. Since we can't match them up front, we need to play smart and use the wave as our ally. Our goal is to let them crash the wave under your turrets and then slow push it back to create the same scenario as for the weak range matchup. We want the wave to crash under our turrets and bounce back as fast as possible, so that when we get level 3, we can look for heavy trades with our minion advantage. However, if the enemy knows how to play against this, they will not push it hastily but instead only last hit to build the largest wave possible. If they do this, the wave will crash at around 3 minutes 15 and they will have all the time in the road to poke us to death. When the wave eventually crashes and starts to bounce back, we won't have any resource left and will be forced to take a terrible recall. Just like for the weak range matchup, I will give you 4 tips to avoid this scenario. Tip number 1. Last hit when enemy last hits. To avoid getting poked out, we want to stay at the edge of their attack range. When an ally minion gets low, their attention will be drawn to that minion, and this is our window to CS without getting poked. Tip number 2. Purposely get autoed so that enemy draws minion aggro. If the enemy doesn't want to push, we can deliberately stand in their auto attack range. Most people don't have the self-discipline to resist their temptations, so they will start autoing us. This will make our minions start to attack the enemy champion instead of his wave, and as a result, it will accelerate the push on top of making them take some damage from minions. Remember that Fizz's passive makes him take reduced damage from autos. Moreover, ranged minions have about 25 attack damage and minion aggro works the same way as turret aggro. So if you make them attack you at the correct timing, they will end up taking more damage than you. Tip number 3. Purposely stand in the wave to bait enemies AoE. Similar to tip 2, we can accelerate the push by standing in the middle of our wave and make the enemy use their AoE abilities on us and the wave. In contrast to tip number 2, this does not inflict damage to the enemy, and its sole purpose is to accelerate the push. The reason for this is because only single target attacks draw minion aggro, while AoE does not, so only use it when it's necessary. Tip number 4. Surprise trades. When the enemy wastes an ability on the wave or on us, we can go for a surprise EAW trade on them. Most people will try to throw abilities on us when we go for last hits, so all we need to do is pretend to CS and then use E unexpectedly on them, and it will catch most people off guard. Note that there isn't a clear-cut definition of what constitutes a weak or strong mage. You might be able to use the first approach on a Victor with TP and Phase Rush. But the same Victor with Summon, Airy, and Ignite is among the strongest lane bully we can encounter. Finally, as a general guideline, our priority should be wave state, health, and CS. We value health over CS because EXP is of utmost importance. If we get too low, we will be forced to take bad resets or even run the risk of getting killed. On the other hand, if we stay healthy by sacrificing a few CS, we will eventually have the ability to trade with the enemy and kill them. Following the same line of reasoning, a bad wave state will force us to take bad trades and lead to the same disastrous results, which is why we need to maintain a good wave state even at the expense of some health. Alright, this is it for this video. If you enjoyed it or found it helpful, please leave a like and subscribe. I'm Myriapod, and I'll see you in the next video.